Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 56 of the HooperCast. I'm Mr. Hooper. Do you want to...
Good for you.
Thank you.
You took a pause, and I didn't know what you were doing.
I didn't know what I was doing either.
You didn't fill me in that you wanted me to talk.
That's okay.
Well, I'm Dustin.
Dustin.
I don't think I've ever introduced myself on the podcast before.
That's true.
Hi, I'm Dustin. Glad to be here.
We've got some movies to talk about today. So I guess we can get to it. Huh, Dustin?
Yeah.
Well, we both saw Captain America 2.
We did.
The Winter Soldier. So I know you've got some thoughts on it. I do as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think overall I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. Over on my Tumblr page, you should see within the next few days of recording this a breakdown of how I rank my movies. But for right now, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to give it an 8. Mm-hmm. So, an 8 out of 10, mind you. Not like an 8 out of 100. I hated it, it gives an 8.
Right.
An 8 out of 10. I had a good time with it. Okay. What about you?
Yeah, I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I figured I would like it. But I did not think that I would, I'd enjoy it that much.
Sure, yeah.
I just thought it would just be like, okay, let's see what he does before the Avengers as well.
Sure, yeah.
But I was really surprised with a couple of directors who never directed action before directed such a great action movie.
Yeah.
Like, really great action. Mm-hmm. And, there's just a few things in the movie that confuse me with physics. Like, I know that there's a lot of surviving big falls, but
yes.
I know he's a super soldier. But I have to assume that everybody on the ship that he infiltrates at the beginning, I have to assume they all die because everyone he hits super hard with a vibranium shield in the face,
or a super soldier kick.
Yeah, or he kicks them like he kicks a few people who go right into a rail. One guy, I could tell by the curvature that his back is broken. He's paralyzed if he didn't die.
No, he's dead.
So Captain America kills a lot of people when he could have just maybe subdued them. So just be prepared for that.
Yes, indeed.
But I liked it. I guess we can't. I don't want to. Should we just put up like a spoiler warning or something?
Yeah, I'd say so.
We sort of have to. I guess before we do that, no, let's do the spoiler first. We could break down little stuff later.
Okay.
What did you think of the whole Hydra plot?
I enjoyed it. I thought it kind of surprised me that that's what they were going to do with it. And it makes a lot of sense to connect, the villains of this film back to Hydra, and it really gives a sense of continuity to the two movies and establishes Captain America as a franchise in and of itself, which I think is very necessary because really, Thor 2 didn't really do that.
Right.
And same with Iron Man, with the Iron Man franchise, that's always sort of been its own thing. So Marvel really needed another Iron Man level franchise. And so linking this back to the first film in the ways that it did really established him by himself, I felt.
Okay.
So I thought it was a smart move.
Oh, like apart from S.H.I.E.L.D., basically.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that, but going into the movie, you would think, okay, well, then wherever we see Captain America from now on, we see him with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I liked it, too. A little bit, too. I'm a little bit wary of films where it's like there's an organization running everything, but it is a comic book movie.
Right.
And so I'm cool with it in that context.
Sure.
What did you think of... I know that you're not a fan of Black Widow, but I am curious to know your thoughts on how she was utilized in this film. Do you think it's better? Do you think it's just kind of maintaining, or worse?
I thought it was better. I thought, I love Joss Whedon, but I don't think he did anything spectacular with that character. So I think in this film, kind of giving her more of a personality, and I think after having seen this, I can say, okay, this is what Black Widow is. This is who she is. In the Avengers, I still didn't know. She was just still that girl from Iron Man, and so I think they made a smart move here by by exploring her character a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I think Scarlett Johansson pulled it off well. And I know we've talked about it before on the podcast. But if this is who they're going with, and this is the character that they're going with, I think it was done as well as it could be, and it's unfair for me to say, oh, she should have an accent or she should be this, based on my own presuppositions. But instead, I should look and say, okay, this is what they're doing with it, and at least they're doing it well. And so yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought she did a fine job, and I actually like her hair better this way.
Really?
Yes, I do. A lot better.
Man, I don't.
Really? Okay.
I liked it best in the Avengers. But yeah, I would have liked it better if she just put it in a bun. Or just shaved her head bald.
Yes.
But like for half the sequences where she's flipping around, I'm thinking all you gotta do is her hair's like, lower than shoulder length, straight. It'd be super easy to just grab and punch her in the face. Just grab it, punch her in the face like 3 or 4 times.
This is true. But I do say I still okay. First of all, she was, in my opinion, she looks better with her hair this way.
Okay.
And then also it just seemed, I don't know, with it being straight, it seems sort of like I could buy that her hair just is that way.
Oh, and like she wouldn't like perm it before she went out and fought
like she
people.
didn't do anything to it, you know. So I guess it, for whatever, in some way makes it seem less like she's done her hair. And so so for that reason, it kind of makes more sense.
Except straightened it.
Well,
the pinnacle. I'm hoping in Avengers 2 she puts it in a bun. That will be full circle. Just put that thing in a bun. Just wrap it up. I'm sorry. Even if you're a spy, every girl carries a hair tie on her wrist. Every single girl has one of those things. Everyone.
How many spies have you met, Hooper?
I know so many spies.
I bet you do. A bunch of super spies.
I can't tell you how many, Dustin. That's part of.
I know. I shouldn't have asked. I really shouldn't have asked, but
yeah,
I could get you in a lot of trouble.
It was interesting seeing, and they did so much with the continuity here too. Like you saw Agent Sitwell in this, and it's crazy to think about how many people are bad. Like when you think about S.H.I.E.L.D. throughout all of the movies, like knowing that at least half the organization are moles, basically.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I said the whole Hydra plot,
Yeah.
But like knowing that they're all moles, it kind of explains why they're such a shady organization. It explains why the World Security Council or whatever wanted to nuke New York in the Avengers. Like why they were just cool with blowing up New York because they're run by a sleeper organization that's kind of trying to kill everyone anyway.
Right, exactly.
So it really makes sense. I'm curious how they will deal with this in the TV show. I'm sure they're going to address it if they haven't started to already. They would have to. I mean, I don't see how this could be anything but the end of the television show. That's true. Or they all go rogue while someone patches it up or something. Yeah, but that... I'm wondering if they're going to fight... Like, you know how the dude... I can't remember his name, but he was pretty much the main bad strike team dude who was fighting the Falcon at the end. Yeah, Crossbones. You notice he lives. He what? He lives. Oh yes, correct. So I'm wondering if that guy's going to start hunting people down, or whether they'll encounter him at some point, or... Well, that's a reference to the comics. In the comics, he plays, or in the comics, Brock Rumlow, I think his name is Crossbones. Okay. And he's sort of like a Slade Wilson, Deathstroke type, you know, bounty hunter / assassin. And he's a bad dude. And so in the comics, he wears this Bane-looking mask. Not like Bane from the movies, but Bane from the comics. Oh. Sort of like a weird, luchador kind of skeleton mask. And so, you know, he's... I think maybe by having him be all burned up and whatnot, maybe they'll make him wear a mask next time we see him. That's cool. So yeah, I mean, it's just a little, sort of like a reinterpretation of that character without actually really going that far. That's cool. Yeah. Oh wow. Sorry, I just got the best text of my life. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to mention this, Dustin, because this is a big milestone. My wife just texted me and said, "Can we watch The Wolf of Wall Street tonight?" Oh snap! Fuck yes, we can. Are you kidding me? Yes.
Yeah.
I think someone just took her phone and sent me that text.
Yes.
That couldn't have come from her. Hold on. I just gotta return one. Cool smiley face. Fuck yes. Oh my god, that's the best news I've had all day. Alright, anyway, yeah, I really liked it. Like, it's cool. Now, I had read that, while we have a couple more minutes to spend on this, I had read that, I watched this thing on ABC. I DVR'd the Marvel Assembling a Universe thing. Because I watched the special features on all these movies more than once, because I'm just fascinated with them pulling all this together. You know, I'm picturing, like, Kevin Feige and Joss Whedon both having, like, a big room in their house where they have, like, a big map of the United States and they have it connected with yarn and stuff,
yes.
you know, like, just connecting everything. And they, of course, at the end of the special, they're setting up the Winter Soldier, and they said, Kevin Feige was saying how they always wanted the Captain America movies to most directly affect the Avengers films. So, like, in the first one, obviously, like, with the Cube and Captain America being unfrozen kind of directly affects and leads into the Avengers. And they had said how these Phase 2 movies where, you know, Iron Man, at least he gets to kind of go home, you know, to Pepper and to, you know, his company, and then Thor gets to go back to Asgard, you know, but Captain America is the only character who doesn't really get to go home. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't have a home. And I guess I expected a few more things to be connected to the Avengers in this. I thought that the AI in the movie was going to be what the beginnings of Ultron is. Okay. So I was sitting in the theater like, that's Ultron, and then it wasn't. I was like, oh, I felt so stupid. I felt so dumb. But I mean, no doubt the dissolution of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, is going to play a big role in the next film. Yeah. You know, I'm kind of wondering where Hawkeye was during all this.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably shooting American Hustle.
Probably.
But, yeah, it was good. I was expecting at least maybe like a Bruce Banner cameo or something. My friend who I was with expected at the end for Tony Stark to, like, shut down all the helicarriers since he gave him the repulsor stuff. But then I thought that'd be a Deus Ex Machina, and it would just be unnecessary. Right. But with the amount of continuity they kept to, and the amount of people that I recognized who were in this film, like, you know, Senator Stearns and all that, I was like, you know what, they pulled it, they called in enough favors for this. They didn't have to just saturate it with everybody we recognized. Right. So I was kind of glad they didn't do that. Obviously Thor wouldn't be there, but you know, I was very pleased with it. And
I was too in the long run, but I can always find things to gripe about, though, with these movies.
Well, what would you gripe about with this one?
Well, I mean, okay, so first of all, just from, you know, a storytelling perspective, you're never, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't buy that they would kill Nick Fury ever. So that point of like, you know, drama was completely lost on me. Right. Because, I mean, obviously, I figured, okay, even if he is dead, they're going to do some crazy junk and bring him back. Right. I mean, even Coulson can't stay dead. There's no way they're going to get rid of Samuel L. Jackson.
That's true. I guess if you read film news and you know, like, wait, he still has, like, 4 more movies he's contracted for, like...
Yeah, but even if not, I mean, he's Samuel L. Jackson. Like, they're not going to just write him off. And especially not like that. Like, he's going to go out in a blaze of glory. Yeah. And so I never bought that. So his reappearance later didn't come as a surprise, and most of his stuff later, like, oh, you know, I hired the guys or whatever, it's like, yeah, well, I kind of knew all of that. And then, you know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, even though, you know, I know it probably feels like a nitpick, and it is. The advanced technology that is used in some of these movies really bothers me. And especially with this movie, because this isn't a superhero movie. This is like a spy movie. This is like a patriotic kind of thriller kind of thing. It's not a superhero movie. So when you're asking me to believe in some sort of reality the government as it exists today, it's really weird to see the World Security Council as holograms, like they're Jedi Knights or something. It really brings me out of it, and I just can't separate it. It's not even like, oh, Tony Stark has like hologram computers or whatever. This is like, these are hologram people talking about political things, just like the Jedi Knights do in the prequel movies.
Yeah.
And that, it just bothers me. Like, to ask me to invest so much in this character as like a real guy, and then show me that, really takes me out of it. So that's just me. And then this is the last thing I'll nitpick. And if you disagree with me, that's completely fine and it's completely valid. But I still don't think, aside from Loki, there has been a very memorable villain in a Marvel movie yet. What did you think of the Winter Soldier as a villain?
Real quick, since we're running over time a little bit.
Yeah.
But I realized I forgot to ask you that question too. I think the Winter Soldier works, but like he works. I think he worked in the only capacity he could have. I mean, you can't do much with him emotionally because he's been brainwashed. I mean, sure. You can, but like not throughout the course of the movie. He has no motivation. He's a mercenary. He's a brainwashed, like, perfect soldier. So I think it made sense for him to just kind of be like a pawn in all this.
Sure.
And give a little bit of whatever they did with him emotionally in the movie with Steve, but I think in the capacity they had him in the movie, that's probably the best they could have done, because if it was more focused on him and he was like, because the minute he's conflicted, like he can't recognize Steve, because the moment he kind of knows it, he's not even conflicted about what he's doing. He just wouldn't do it. So right. You kind of have to have him as just this cold instrument for most of it. So I think what they did, and have him kind of go into the museum at the end, is probably the best I could have expected.
Sure. No, I think you're right about that. It's just, for me, like, I believe that
I didn't consider him the villain. If that answers your question.
No, this is true.
Yeah.
But so, which leads into what I'm sort of getting at, which is, I believe that for every hero, they have to have a villain that tests them and challenges them, and is equally memorable and charismatic, and if not more so. So you look at Superman and he's got his Lex Luthor, and Batman's got Joker, and Captain America has Red Skull, to be honest. So I guess the problem for me is that even though Winter Soldier wasn't the main villain was not a memorable villain.
Yeah.
He's the same to me as what's-his-face from Iron Man 3. That Guy Pearce plays. He's just like a dude who's like, okay, you're behind everything, but you're not really like... I guess what I want is like a villain that you can be like, oh man, I would just wish he had more screen time because he's so cool. And Loki has that wow factor like that.
Yeah.
But it's just, I feel like these movies are lacking in that.
I agree with that.
But I will say this. I loved what the movie was saying about freedom, and about what freedom was in the 40s and what it is now.
Yeah.
And having Captain America have to struggle with what freedom means and kind of stand, unwavering, as a beacon of freedom.
Right.
And so for that, like, political reason, for that, giving Captain America that emotional kind of arc within himself, I think they really succeeded with that, and it gives more depth to the average superhero movie, if you want to call that.
I agree.
If you want to call this that.
It's very bold for them to kind of make that statement too, and like a major movie too.
And that's what I really enjoyed, was that the movie did make a statement.
That's good.
And so for that reason, it's an 8. I enjoyed the crap out of this movie. I'll probably buy it on Blu-ray. So.
Oh yeah.
I'll definitely buy it on Blu-ray.
Go to Movie Stop tomorrow and pre-order it.
Yeah.
Movie Stop.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move forward. I think we both overall liked this film, and it's good. It makes me excited for the Avengers.
Yes.
Again.
Me too.
Well, we have a slew of other movies that we saw. Would you like to toss one out first?
Sure. I'm going to go with Despicable Me 2.
Okay.
I think we've had John on here. Maybe it was for our top 10 of last year, and John had this on his list. So I watched Despicable Me 2 this week, and I gotta say, I didn't really care much for it. I thought the first one was a lot better, and it kind of does some things. You know, the first one was kind of subversive, like, okay, here's villains, and like, here's how they get their money for their things, and here's, you know, a guy who's a villain growing to care for these kids, and whatever. So it was a little bit like, you know, turning your expectations on a dime. And so for this one to go a very predictable route, I thought was not a very good choice. The film is kind of wacky, and it's this, you know, frantic, like storytelling that kind of is disjointed and makes me feel like they're talking down to me. Like, oh, here's just a bunch of really crazy things, isn't this funny? And for kids, yeah, it probably is. But for me, you know, it wasn't up to the level of Pixar or even DreamWorks, where you say, okay, there's some, you know, something here for the adults to latch onto also. There's a lot of loose ends in this movie, and it's predictable, and yeah, you know, I don't know. And the Minions, to me, aren't like, I mean, they're not annoying, but they're really not that funny either. So for me, this movie was very much a Minion movie. Like, there's a lot of Minions in this, and they get a lot of screen time. And so for me, when I find them not particularly funny, you know, I think Gru was the best part of the first movie. And so the fact that the Minions have become this thing, it's like, yeah, I guess they're cute, but, you know, whatever. And so to make them such a big part of the second movie, I think was never going to win me over. So here's the point. If you're debating on seeing Despicable Me 2, it's probably one you can skip.
This is why I didn't believe that my wife texted me about The Wolf of Wall Street, is her opinion of this movie.
Of what? Despicable Me 2?
Despicable Me 2, because just, you know, we had a discussion about why I thought that the Minions being the focus of it. I haven't seen it. The fact that I thought that I could tell by the marketing campaign, though.
Yeah.
And the fact that I thought that because they focused on the Minions more, how I thought that was just talking down to audiences and just playing to the lowest common denominator, and how she thought it was, you know, but it's for kids, it's cute, and blah, blah, blah. And I sort of was just like, yeah, but it sounds like something I could skip, and I intend to.
I mean, I know John loves the movies, and no disrespect to John. It's just, it wasn't something that I felt like I could latch onto. I didn't feel like it was made for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm just gonna have to say skip that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I saw sticking with animated movies. I saw Frozen.
Oh, okay.
And just to be really quick with it, it's not a bad film. Mrs. Hooper and I did not like it as much as the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like, when it ended, we were just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't amazing. Like, the best part of that movie is the soundtrack. Like, they got really good, catchy songs. You know, good music. But I just the movie itself, I was just kind of like, it was really generic. It was really generic.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Have you seen this?
I haven't, but I was at FYE, and they were playing it on the TV, and so they had some of the music or whatever, some of the songs, and I had never heard any of the songs. I've been staying away from the soundtrack and everything, and so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The soundtrack seemed very Broadway. Like, it didn't seem like the typical, like, you know, I Never Had a Friend Like Me kind of songs. It was very much like, you know, center stage Broadway, huge musical kind of songs.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. That's not my style of music. Is my impression of it correct? That is very big and very
I'm trying
bombastic.
to think of any kind of songs that don't fit that profile, but I don't know what to compare it to really musically. I'm sure if I thought enough about it, I would have come up with a pretty good analogy, but off the top of my head, I don't quite know what to compare the music to.
Sure, because it's just when you think of like the bare necessities, or I Want to Be Like You, or any of the Lion King. Even, I mean, the Lion King is very Elton Johnish, but none of them really seem Broadway to me.
I mean, they're all good. I mean, they're all pretty good. I mean, speaking of Broadway, I mean, Josh Gad as this Olaf the Snowman. He has a song, and he's of course a Broadway performer technically because of Book of Mormon.
Sure.
But I mean, like, some of them amount to nothing, and some of the movie is just like, Olaf's song is about how, like, he's dumb, and so of course because he's wacky, and he can't wait to go to the beach, and he's not aware of the fact that if he goes to the beach, he'll fucking die.
Yeah.
so it's kind of funny in that way, but halfway through the song, you're like, okay, we get it. He doesn't realize that snow melts.
Yeah.
But some of them are really good, like the whole, I don't know, like you said, you've been staying away from them, but the Do You Want to Build a Snowman song is probably one of the saddest songs I ever heard. Because the tempo is, it's happy, it's fun. It's like, do you want to build a snowman? But the content of the song is like
depressing.
We used to be so close, and I haven't seen you. You don't play with me anymore. Why? And then the door shuts, and it's like, okay, bye. And it's like, Jesus,
good Lord.
It's there's some sad stuff.
Teach these kids about heartbreak early.
And I think Frozen would have been better because the whole. Okay, so they grow up. Elsa's got like ice powers and stuff. She does something that basically makes it so that she can't hang out with her sister anymore, because the memory of the thing would make the sister die or something. So she spends a bunch of time shutting people out because she can't control her powers, and she's like a freak or whatever. And so there's this big emotional hole that's left from Anna from not being able to be with her sister, and like eventually their parents die. This is all part of the setup. It's not really spoilery, but their parents die eventually, so they don't have anyone but each other, and Anna feels so alone. And there's a good emotional setup there, and it doesn't really pay off in the way it could have by the end of the movie. Like, it obviously gets resolved, but I was hoping for much more of a catharsis of, like, the most important person in your life finally opens up to you again, and it just didn't land the way it wanted to. So it would have been a slam dunk if it had. Because the music's nice and the animation's good. And it was a good enough story, but it was just kind of generic, and it didn't pay off emotionally. So it's good for kids, but I mean, as an adult, I was kind of disappointed in its potential, waste of potential. I think.
So sticking with Disney theme, let's go with Saving Mr. Banks.
Okay.
I think this was also on John's top 10 list last year, and for good reason. It's a really good movie. Not only does Tom Hanks do a great job, but like everybody is just right on point on this movie, and it's oddly emotional and oddly, I say oddly because I didn't really expect it, it's very much about the way that a writer pulls their stories from themselves, and the way that if a writer can't tell the stories or can't tell the story the way that they want to, or if somebody wants to mess with it the way that P.L. Travers thinks that Walt is going to mess with her Mary Poppins characters, it's a very harsh thing, and it kind of tears you up as an artist, because these characters are very much linked to you and to your view of yourself and your world. And so to me, it spoke to just that artist, part of me that realizes that everything that an artist creates is themselves, and they feel some authority over it, and rightfully so. And it's you get to see a lot of P.L. Travers growing up, and the way that her experiences early in life shaped the characters that she would write later. And it's a really good story, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I intend to catch this one when I can rent it.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, well, Mrs. Hooper and I saw American Hustle. We Redboxed it. And again, just quick thoughts on this one. I can't remember how much you liked it.
liked it pretty good.
Pretty good. I really liked the ending because whenever a con movie ends, it's always kind of interesting how it ends.
Yeah.
But it took us like 3 days to watch this movie. It was long as fuck. Yeah. It was just. So I don't know. It was. I think I'm glad I saw it, but I don't know how good I thought it was. Really, I mean,
sure.
I think it just could have been paced a little better.
Yeah.
But I did kind of like the payoff and where everybody ended up. Essentially, I like again, talking about an emotional hit. I mean, the film's one emotional home run for me was the Jeremy Renner Christian Bale relationship. How that turns out.
Yeah,
because it's heartbreaking. You have this guy who spends the whole movie like really genuinely wanting good things, and just the whole time you're like, oh god, it's all fake. Like, it's all fake, dude. It's all fake. This is so bad for you. So I thought emotionally it worked that way. I just wish it was shorter.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they could cut out a good 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like 20 minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I just,
Yeah.
I don't own it. We'll leave it at that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that'd be the same for me. I'm glad I saw it. It's good to be able to talk about it, but I would have no interest in seeing it again, really.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to throw out?
Well, let's let me throw out Runner Runner.
Okay.
All right, so Runner stars Ben Affleck and Justin Timberlake, and
oh yeah, this one.
Yeah. Okay, the basic setup. Justin Timberlake needs money to get through grad school, so he bets all of his money on online poker and loses. He studies the data because he's super smart. He studies the data and realizes that whoever he was playing was cheating. So he flies down to Costa Rica, maybe? I don't remember where the movie's set even. So that should tell you where I'm going with this review. But anyway, so he flies down to wherever it is, where Ben Affleck owns the website, and he's like, "Yo, I got cheated on your website." And Ben Affleck's like, "Oh, well, actually, I need a partner. So if you want to help me out here, that'd be cool." And so Justin Timberlake's like, "Oh yeah, cool." So he gets a job working for the dude, and because that's how that works. And then a lot of weird, terrible things happen, and then all of a sudden the movie is like a con movie, but it's also a gangster movie, but then there's like a love interest kind of deal, and so the movie's like a lot of different things, and then there's some comedy stuff to it, and it's like, what? And so it's just like a hodgepodge of a lot of things. In the end, it's not really like a waste of time. It's just kind of like, well, that didn't do anything. It didn't make a statement. Like, there's nothing in it that I haven't seen 10 times before.
Yeah.
And, I think the reason that I rented it was because I wanted to see what a modern Ben Affleck is capable of if he doesn't write the movie.
Oh, if he's not doing his own material.
Exactly. All right, so yeah, honestly, he does fine. He plays sort of like a rich playboy kind of character, but he's also the villain of the movie. So you get maybe like a couple shades of Bruce Wayne, kind of in there.
Yeah.
But really, I think, to me, all of the hate that Ben Affleck gets is because of his early movies. Like, he's never really been bad. It's just he took some bad roles. So anyway, after having seen Runner Runner, I am looking forward to him as Bruce Wayne, and I think he'll be able to pull it off. And the guy that's writing Man of Steel 2, I can't remember his name offhand, but he wrote Argo, so he knows Ben Affleck's strengths and weaknesses, and so I think we'll end up with something pretty good. So yeah, and Justin Timberlake, honestly, he's a good actor, and I have no problem with him at all. It's just, this movie doesn't do anything new, and it doesn't really stand out at all. So, whatever. Well,
give me your next one.
Okay, then we'll go with 12 Years a Slave. 12 Years a Slave, I rented a couple nights ago from Redbox. I had a free rental, so I was like, yep. Look, okay, so 12 Years a Slave, it's a heavy movie. It to me feels heavy-handed. It's not a bad movie. It does some really cool things visually. There's a couple of long takes in there that I really enjoyed.
Okay.
It's not without merit. The actors do fine for the most part. There are a few occasions when it feels theatrical. And I hate when movies remind me of a play because they're two different things. And so there's a couple moments where it's staged like a play and the actors are performing. You know, it's written the way that they would have spoken back then. So a lot of actors have problems pulling off that kind of, you know, speech.
Right.
And so there are a couple of times when it feels like, you know, like an audio book of like, you know, it's just that level of acting. It's not good. And these are supporting players. These are really small roles because everyone else, Brad Pitt, you know, Michael Fassbender, they all do fine. But the supporting roles can sometimes be a little taxing because it's like, okay, this isn't a stage play or this isn't a book reading. So, you know, whatever. In other words, it's just very obvious that these people don't actually speak the way that the dialogue is written.
Right.
It doesn't come off as natural. Chiwetel Ejiofor, is that how you say his name?
I think it's Ejiofor. But
Ejiofor? Okay, yeah. He does a great job. No doubt about that. The movie, like I said, the movie's very heavy-handed, and it's very long. Like, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, which doesn't sound long, but it is long. Like, it rests when it needs to be moving forward. And you can cut a good 20 or 30 minutes out of this movie. Just make it more concise. Yeah, it's a heavy movie to get through, and you know how the movie's going to end when it starts, and it's just kind of, it's hard to get caught up in the emotional journey of this character, even though if I started telling you the story, you'd be caught up in it. Right. So the fact that the movie can't do that is tells me that it's probably too slow, or the acting is not doing its job. So there's one part where they take Chiwetel's character and they put a noose on him and they hang him. This is early in the movie, so it's not a spoiler. But they go to hang him, and so just to show, not to kill him, just to torture him, and so just to show like the severity of it, they put the camera down and just let it roll. And so Chiwetel's there, hanging from a noose. His feet can barely touch the ground. Mm-hmm. Life is going on around him, and he's just sitting there, like, slowly choking.
Wow.
And the shot rests for a long time. I can't even tell you how long it is. It felt like 2 or 3 minutes.
Wow.
But it wasn't. It was probably like maybe a minute. But so all of this stuff is going on behind him, like life is normal for all the other slaves, and he's sitting there choking, and no one's doing anything, and he's just choking for 60 seconds in the foreground, or really not even in foreground. He's more like in the middle of the midground or whatever. But I don't know. It's really hard to watch that scene, and maybe that was the point. But it was hard to watch for me from a filmmaking perspective, because I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, move on. Like, tell me the next part of the story. Stop wasting my time being like, isn't this terrible? Because I've already got it. It is. It's terrible. He's choking. Like, you don't have to show me 60 seconds of choking. Show me 10 seconds and get out. Move on. Right. And the movie's guilty of that on several accounts. Oh, look at this. We're going to let the camera rest. And it's like, yeah, but tell me the story. Stop, So it would be like if I'm telling you the story, like if I'm like, oh, so I'm in traffic today, and all of a sudden this car pulls out in front of me, and then I don't say another thing for 60 seconds just to emphasize how terrible it was that car pulled out in front of me. Right. You're going to be like, well, what happened? You know what I mean? It's like that. So like you understand, yeah, the car pulled out. It sucks, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for that reason, yeah, the movie could have been shorter, and it felt very heavy-handed and very preachy, but it is a good movie, and it's, for the most part, worth your time, if for nothing else, just to see what everybody's talking about. But yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, I've got 5 that are all going to be pretty quick. I'll go in the order of which I enjoyed them, from the most to the least.
Okay.
I'm going to start with The Bay.
Okay.
This was a 2012 movie directed by Barry Levinson. It's a found footage style movie, and it's basically it's supposed to take place in Maryland, and the whole movie centers around the idea of there's an actual bacteria, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the kind that gets into the fish's mouth, and it eats its tongue, and then it replaces its tongue and becomes its tongue and functions as its tongue.
Right. Okay.
It's like a parasite. So this movie's dealing with basically, what if that kind of just went a little further, Mm-hmm. And the whole point of the movie is supposed to basically make you question what's in your water. It has a strong environmental message, and it really just, it's taken from a bunch of different cameras. But it takes place in this Bayside kind of Maryland town. It's really Amity-esque. It even has a lot of similarities to Jaws. The mayor doesn't want to create panic, so he sort of denies the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It was entertaining, I guess. But a couple of jump scares that are really just oh, come on, kind of moments.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I put fiction in quotations because I know that to a certain degree this exists, but it would never wipe out a whole town like it kind of does here. So, whatever. I don't know what else to really say about The Bay.
Okay.
So, the next one...
You've been watching a lot of horror movies recently.
I guess so. That's just what was on Amazon, so I... Yeah.
I gotcha.
The next one was Premium Rush.
Okay.
I didn't have a lot of thoughts on this one. It was basically... this is 2012, I think, also. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's just basically about these bike messengers in New York City, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt ends up with a package that's really, really important to certain people, and he's being pursued throughout the whole movie, and there's a girl bike messenger that he's sort of figuring things out with, and it wasn't anything special. I think a lot of people were impressed with they do this thing where they enter their minds where it's it sort of slows everything down, and you see all the routes that they could go, and blah blah blah. And I'm I know I sound like a pompous asshole, but they're not the only people who do that. I do that when I drive. I do that when I walk through crowds.
Yeah.
I can't slow down time, and see the outcome. But everyone knows what it's like to have multiple routes to choose at a split second. You do that when you're running through the woods from your Uncle Marty, or you're, or you're
no.
Or, I don't know, you're... What's another example? Laser tag. When we played laser tag at my bachelor party. It's nothing special. It's kind of cool to see it on film, but it's kind of... I saw that when I saw the Sherlock Holmes movies,
Right,
It's kind of the same deal, so it's not that special. And the rest of the movie is just them kind of being assholes. And I was just okay, I don't really care what happens to these people. When you take the brakes off of a fixed gear bike, and you're talking about how those things will get you killed one day, but you're causing a bunch of car accidents because you're weaving through traffic. Mm-hmm. I don't care what happens to you.
Right.
So
true.
So that was Premium Rush.
Michael Shannon's in that, correct?
Yeah, and he's entertaining.
Yeah.
Too. I just looked at my levels. I may have just shouted that whole thing. It's probably overmodulated. The next one, I'm going to turn the sensitivity down because I'm going to get angrier as we go. Okay, so the next one is the girlfriend experience. This one appropriately ends up in the middle because I felt nothing from this girlfriend experience. This is a 2009 movie directed by Steven Soderbergh, following his trend of taking people who aren't actors really and making them actors. So this stars Sasha Grey, a former adult film star, and she's a call girl in this film.
Okay.
And it's just kind of one of those weird things where he lets the camera sit a lot. There's not a lot of movement. Half of the movement looks like it's shot on camcorder. It just looks like the quality's really shitty looking, and
really,
for some reason it's set during the financial crisis. Like half the movie is just a bunch of people talking about, you know, McCain and Obama and who's going to win the election and what that means to the economy and stuff. And why? Like why?
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
And she's just trying to figure
like the
out
title.
Her life and what she's doing, but nothing happens. Like nothing happens. Yeah. I just wrote a huge WTF over my notes.
This is Steven Soderbergh?
Steven Soderbergh. It was boring as shit.
I don't remember this at all.
It was like experimental kind of thing. I don't think it made a lot of money. It
Gotcha.
It was independently produced. I don't think it went theatrical.
I gotcha.
I heard about it on the Adam Carolla show. That's the only reason I knew it existed. Okay. So, which one did I hate worse? Okay. Let's go with Sharknado.
Okay.
I saw the fucking sci-fi original film Sharknado.
Yes.
This was a genuinely bad movie. It wasn't even fun bad. Like, I didn't like Piranha. I hated this more than I hated Piranha. Because it wasn't even entertaining. All the actors were awful.
Yeah.
The effects, understandably, were super bad. Like, horrible. Worse than that submarine Lost.
Ooh.
Like, the whole time. Every shot was like that, yeah. So, there's an opening sequence where, like, there's, like, an Asian guy on a boat, and he's, like, not trying to give this money to, like, this other, you know, this fisherman, and the captain's evil and stuff, and so the tornado starts in the sea, and it starts swirling up all the sharks, and then all the exterior shots of the boat. It looked like those cutscenes in Deadliest Catch where they're trying to describe to you what a dead loss is, where all the crab die, and it's that bad CG of all the ships. The whole movie looks like that. It's like a previous sequence. And, not that bad, but it's just so poorly rendered, it's awful.
Wow.
But there's a big opening sequence, and then the sharks eat everybody. It's not like one of them makes it back to shore and warns everyone. They all die. So why the opening sequence? It's pointless. Then there's an attack on the beach, and these are like ankle-deep attacks with like these great white sharks. So physically they can't fit all the way under the water, right? But for some reason these people in like shin-deep water getting pulled under, presumably into the fucking sand by great whites. It's just implausible, you know, whatever. There's a Jaws reference where someone blows up the front of a shark, and the resulting shark looks like a cartoon blow-up cigar. It's just like, are you serious? There's a point in the movie where they all suddenly have guns. All of a sudden, like, there's a shotgun, a handgun, and like someone has like an Uzi, I think. It's just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
What's his name? Fuck it. I can't remember who that guy was. So the main character has climbing gear in his truck so he can rappel down to like the school bus full of people down below where there's water. And so his whole thing is like, you know, always prepared and stuff. Like, you just carried rappelling gear in Los Angeles. Where were you going to rappel? You know? Right. So whatever. So there's a shark that gets thrown at a helicopter where one chick is. She falls out of the helicopter, and it snaps her out in midair and eats her.
Oh, yeah, that's likely.
So she's dead, but then later the other guy gets eaten by the shark, but he has a chainsaw, and so he chainsaws himself out of it from the inside of the shark, and then pulls her. It's the same fucking shark that ate her, and he pulls her out of there too, so she's alive.
So it swallowed them in one bite without chewing.
It swallowed her, and then like 15 minutes later, a shark eats him, and he chainsaws out. It's the same shark.
Yeah.
How did it gain propulsion? One, how did it not die from the fall?
Yeah.
And two, how did it get propelled to eat him? Did it get sucked back up by another tornado? So he got 2 tries to eat people?
Right.
I don't think so. So it was a couple facts about it. It was an 18-day shoot. It sure as hell looks like it. It was cheap as shit, and it also happened to be the subject of Corey Monteith's final tweet. So, so good for him.
Yeah.
Sharknado was a piece of shit. Don't see it. But see it before you see Hobo with a shotgun. I thought this was going to be awesome. It was not. It was based on a fake trailer that was before the Grindhouse movies. It stars Rutger Hauer. I like to think this is what happens to Rutger Hauer after Bruce Wayne fires him.
Yes.
From Wayne Enterprises.
Yes.
Homeless, kind of walking around this ultra-violent city. So much violence is happening. It's insane. Like, people are getting just shot in the head on the street. It's like Mad Max before, I guess, everyone dies. I think this is a prequel to Mad Max, because just everyone's just... There's no order. For like the first 20 minutes, people are getting executed in the street. They okay, over the top kind of these like one guy gets, they have these weird, like, sewer covers that fit your head in, and so they put him in a manhole cover, but just his head is above ground. They put a barbed wire noose around him, and then tie it to a truck, and they pull it, and they rip his fucking head off.
Wow.
Then his neck is shooting a geyser of blood, and some chick, like, dressed in all white fur just sort of dances around in his blood. And just dancing around in it. Like the beginning of Blade, when all the vampires are at that rave and the sprinklers come on. And it's just like... I'm just sitting here thinking, no one's going to report that shit. Like, that's
for real.
Insane murder. It's just the very definition of excess, just cartoonish levels of public violence. Mohawks are killing people with heavy machinery for no fucking reason. Smashing feet, just sledgehammering people's feet, crushing them under heavy appliances. Zero consequences. Then I'm thinking, where the fuck are the police? Turns out the bad guys own the police. Like, the police chief says to the hobo when he reports the crime, "Welcome to Fucktown," and then, like, they break his arm or something, and then shoot him with a shotgun in his chest. And Gregory Smith, from, Small Soldiers and lots of other things, is one of the main bad guys. It's like every actor is just on cocaine, but he ends up getting his penis shot off by Rutger Hauer, and then he bleeds out and dies. But not before calling his evil father and saying, "You were a great dad," and then he just dies.
Wow.
I'm not done. The villain has topless women in one scene beating a man who's hanging upside down like a piñata. Like, in the background, they're just hitting him with clubs.
Okay. This movie seems like it's like a bad trip or something.
Gregory Smith burns a bus full of children with a flamethrower, laughing.
Wow.
This movie is so bad, it crashed my iPad. And then this hooker goes on a monologue at the very end about how just because homeless people don't have beds, it doesn't make them homeless. They have the biggest home of all, and they have the right to keep it clean, right?
What?
Yeah. So, pretty much justifying vigilante justice by saying homeless people live everywhere, and it's their house, so they can keep it clean. Okay.
Right.
Well,
sure.
Okay. Anyway, it's terrible. So
yeah, it seems like one of those movies.
Yeah.
It's just excessive.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I've got to go, Dustin.
Okay.
Anyway, tune in next time for the HooperCast 57. We'll have probably finally have some retro reviews for you.
Yep. One of these days we'll get around to them.
Anyway, for now, I'm Mr. Hooper,
and I'm not.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.